So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Rishi Sunak mocking a journalist for asking him a genuine question around his targets, his priorities there, and it's pretty cringe. There'll be another bit we're talking about where they're increasing the cost for people to get visas to come to the UK, which is absolutely illiterate from a Prime Minister who looks like Will from the Inbetweeners, but does not have the knowledge of Will from the Inbetweeners. So.
You're standing up in front of a pledge to halve inflation, but minister after minister has refused to say what that means, what the actual target will be. Is it 5%, 5.35%, 5.5%? Can you today level with people and just...
He's got a villain to laugh at, and I respect it, but it's not great in this context of, when you say you're going to halve inflation, he's right, the journalist is right, what are you going to halve it to?
Say exactly what that target is so we know what metric to judge you by.
I think that everyone can see what inflation was when I made that announcement in I made the announcement in January, and we had the numbers I think for December last year. But look, do I think that everyone sitting at home is focusing on whether inflation goes down to 5.2, 5.4, 5.3? No, I don't. Actually,
I think what they're concerned about is the fact that they're struggling to live, and inflation is still going to be high going in towards the end of the year, which means that their food costs are going to go up quarter on quarter. I think that's what people are concerned about, my friend.
I think they want to know is that the government is committed to easing the burden on their cost of living. And that is my priority, and halving inflation is the most important step we have to doing that. And I want to do that over the course of this year. Clearly, that's become more challenging. Everyone can see that in the numbers, but that doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to say.
You set that as your target because you thought it'd be easy. Because for other countries, the Eurozone as well, inflation has come down dramatically. The UK is an outlier because we have these absolute morons in charge. And the fact that we committed to Brexit, that was also a very stupid thing to do, which is going to further push up food costs. And we'll talk about that now, actually, because I've got the article up, which is Brexit import controls. Is the UK ready, and will it push up prices? The answer is 100% it will. It will push up prices. And so because they'll pass that on to the consumer. That's what they always do. They always pass on increased cost to the consumer, and they don't always pass on increased savings. It's very rare they do, it feels like. So, he's just talking nonsense.
I am ambitious for our country. When I set those targets or priorities, lots of people said, well, that's all going to be too easy. You said all these things that you're going to easily...
That's why you set them, because they were easy, dog.
That was what people said. I didn't believe that. I thought it would be tough. But I thought it was the right thing to do because that's the way that we can bring maximum benefit to people's families up and down the country.
How are people concerned by stopping the boats? How is that impacting them? Cutting the waiting list, you've not done that. Reducing the debt, I think they may have done that slightly. But again, if you reduce it slightly by a couple 100,000, are you going to really take that as a win? Genuine question. Grow the economy, you're struggling to do that a lot. And again, if the economy shrinks by say 0.3%, but then the economy grows by 0.1% the next quarter, are you going to say you have technically grown the economy, honestly? And halving inflation, you've not done that.
And we're going to absolutely stick to the course. That's why today's decision is important. As I said, it wouldn't have been right to accept these pay offers and then fund them with borrowing. That would have been the easy thing for me to do. Wouldn't have involved me having to put fees up everywhere else on visa fees or immigration health surcharge. Wouldn't have involved.
And I guess what they're doing is going for staff retention, which is important. And what they're doing is, rather than trying to get more people in as well as retain current staff, their plan seems to be to just try and retain as much staff as possible with a 6% pay rise, which again is not ideal because we need to do both. That's the problem. We need to train more people here. We need to bring in more kind of people from abroad as well, in order to boost the numbers, because what we have here is not just a retention crisis, but it's also a staffing numbers crisis. We have both. Retention is the key to kind of resolving some of the issues, but if you need to say staff of 35 and you manage to retain 20 people, you're still not going to fulfill kind of the rest of the problem. You're still short by a significant amount.
Detailed work trying to find savings and reprioritisation from elsewhere would have been easy, but it would have been wrong. It wouldn't have been the responsible thing to do for the country, because I'm determined to bring inflation down, and I'm confident that we will do so.
And government borrowing isn't fueling inflation, though, so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Halving inflation is just a staging post, because inflation belongs back where it should be at 2%. Right? So, this is a journey to get it down there, but that was the first step on the journey. But people should be...
This journey sucks.
Left in no doubt about my resolve to deliver on it.
So, we go to Rishi Sunak.
As I said in my speech, this is a significant...
This has been covered by CNN. It's pretty nuts.
Pay award. It's one of the most significant we've had in decades, and it is costing billions of pounds more than the government had budgeted for, and that has consequences. If we're going to prioritise paying public sector workers more, that money has to come from somewhere else, because I'm not prepared to put up people's taxes, and I don't think it would be responsible or right to borrow more, because that would just make inflation worse. So what we have done are two things.
Cap about the inflation thing. Again, it's nonsense, and it's important to call these things out, because there are some people who, yes, I don't have an economics background, I'll be honest, but you can figure some things out, which is that it's not borrowing that's fueling inflation. It's caused by the cost of supplying goods and services right now. That's the thing fueling inflation.
To find this money. The first is we're going to increase the charges that we have for migrants who are coming to this country when they apply for visas, and indeed something called the Immigration Health Surcharge, which is the levy that they pay to access the NHS. So all of those fees are going to go up, and that will raise over £1 billion. So across the board,
we're going to have less people coming here, and I don't know if this is just for public sector workers or is for visas across the board. I think it is.
Or visa application fees are going to go up significantly, and similarly for the immigration health surcharge. For migrants who are coming to this country legally, they have to pay a fee to access the NHS, to contribute to NHS care. I think that's entirely wrong.
He has those big Champions League ears. Honestly, I did not notice them until now.
Right. Neither of these fees have been increased recently, and we think it's appropriate, given the costs for everything have gone up, that those...
And let's parallel this with George Eustace, who says we need more EU workers, admits leading Brexiteer. So the former Environment Secretary is calling for a reciprocal visa scheme so that under 35s can work across the EU and Britain. So how is that going to parallel with us increasing the visa costs? Him admitting we need more people to come in, especially from the EU. How does this help? I don't get it. Genuine question. You say we need, you admit we actually do need more immigration because we have record vacancies, and then you're saying, well, we're going to increase the cost of visas. It don't make sense. Honestly, it does not make sense, and it's we're run by morons. Morons trying to pander to racists and the economically illiterate, and it hurts my very soul. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.